Thank you for your interest in the Chapter 19 Texas Administrative Code, Section 97.1005, Final Rule Adoption Information. This presentation will provide an overview and specific information regarding final adoption to the rule, the Results-Driven Accountability Manual figure included in subsection B, referred to as RDA throughout this presentation, and the resulting RDA public reports. As a beginning note, due to the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic and subsequent school closures that resulted in state assessment waivers, impact to certain indicators in the 2020 RDA reports is significant and specifically addressed for each impacted indicator throughout the presentation. This presentation is divided into three parts. Part 1 includes an overview of the rule background, justification, and the 2020 adopted rule history. Additionally, Part 1 includes the overall final program changes, addresses the impacts of the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic on the RDA manual, and provides a year-to-year comparison to major components or changes. Part 2 covers the three included program areas and includes an overview of the indicators for each program reported area. Part 3 includes information regarding the 2020 RDA reports and provides an anticipated timeline for RDA report releases and associated activities. The final slide will provide contact information for any additional questions consumers may have about the 2020 RDA final rule adoption and resulting products that may not have been covered in this presentation. This page contains commonly used acronyms during this presentation and can be referenced as needed for terminology clarification. Let's begin with Part 1 and the rule overview. Leveraged during the 78th Texas Legislature in 2003, House Bill 3459 added Texas Education Code Section 7.027, limiting and redirecting monitoring conducted by the Texas Education Agency to only that which was required to ensure school district and charter school compliance with federal law and regulations, financial accountability including compliance with grant requirements, and data integrity for purposes of the Public Education Information Management System known as PIEMS, with accountability under TEC Chapter 39. Legislation was passed in 2005, renumbering TEC Section 7.027 to TEC Section 7.028. To meet this monitoring requirement, the TEA developed the Performance-Based Monitoring Analysis System known as PBMAS, and later renamed as Results-Driven Accountability known as RDA. These have been used in conjunction with other evaluation systems to monitor performance of certain populations and students and the program effectiveness of special programs in public school districts and charter schools in the state. TEA has adopted its PBMAS manual in rule since 2005 and the RDA manual in rule since 2019. The RDA manual outlines a dynamic system that evolves over time, so the specific criteria and calculations for monitoring student performance and program effectiveness may differ from year to year. As a result, Chapter 19 of the Texas Administrative Code in Section 97.1005 is updated annually to refer to the most recently published RDA manual. The adopted amendment to 19 TAC Section 97.1005 replaces the 2019 RDA with the 2020 RDA manual at subsection B of the rule. The proposed amendment allowed for comments from May 22nd through June 22nd, 2020, and included two virtually held public hearings on June 9th and June 10th. During these comment opportunities, Disability Rights Texas, referenced here within as DR Texas, expressed concerns regarding Bilingual Education Indicator number 11, Other Special Populations Indicator number 6, and Special Education Indicator number 8. DR Texas expressed support for collection of data on students with dyslexia but expressed concern with transparency for future unintended consequences for students with dyslexia if arbitrary performance levels are set for these indicators. DR Texas proposed to not include these indicators in the RDA 2020 manual and reporting, or if TEA continues to include these indicators, that they remain report only in the future. In its response, TEA agreed with DR Texas in its support for data collection on students with dyslexia and its desire to avoid unintended consequences for students with dyslexia via arbitrary assignment of performance levels in an RDA system or framework. However, TEA disagreed with not including these indicators in the 2020 RDA manual and report. Following a January 11, 2018 letter of noncompliance from the Office of Special Education Programs and multiple stakeholder roundtable meetings where stakeholders expressed concerns regarding required child find activities under the Individuals with Disability Education Act in the state specific to students with dyslexia, TEA agreed to multiple steps and actions to communicate child find requirements, including for those students suspected with dyslexia as a qualifying condition of a specific learning disability and in need of special education and related services. Additionally, during the 86th Texas Legislature, Senate Bill 2075 amended TEC Section 28.006, requiring auditing and monitoring actions by TEA regarding certain dyslexia screening and parent notification requirements. Inclusion of report-only indicators in RDA provides local education agencies with an opportunity to review current performance, plan ahead, and supports TEA's efforts in carrying out its monitoring requirements described in 34 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 300.600. TEA has included these indicators as report-only for the 2020 RDA report, as described in the 2020 RDA manual, consistent with all Year 1 new designated indicators, in order to publicly report and engage with stakeholders. TEA stated it will continue implementing the guiding principles of the RDA found on page 3 of the 2020 RDA manual before making decisions on these indicators of report-only or potential performance level assignments in future RDA manuals and subsequent reports. Additional comments were received from Texans for Special Education Reform, referred to here within as TEXR. TEXR expressed concern with the number of LEAs excluded in assignment of PLs within the RDA reporting system based on the minimum size requirements. TEXR requested the minimum size requirement be changed from 30 to 25 to align with the accountability rating system under 19 TAC Section 97.1001. In its response, TEA disagreed with making the suggested change to the 2020 RDA manual and report based on the number of LEA exclusions. TEA stated that in implementing guiding principles of the RDA, Principle 3, titled Protects Children and Families, maximum inclusion is realized by using appropriate alternatives to analyze the performance of LEAs with small numbers of students. The minimum size requirement, or MSR, can be met either in the current year or through the aggregation of numerators and denominators over the most recent 2 years if applicable. TEA further states, as outlined on page 10 through 13 of the 2020 RDA manual, application of a special analysis for group sizes of 15 to 29 occurs to ensure maximum inclusion for performance level assignments. TEA additionally stated that it recognizes TEXR's concern for MSR alignment and with the accountability rating system under 19 TAC Section 97.1001 and plans to engage stakeholders relevant to alignment of systems where possible in the 2020-2021 school year. As described in the proposed rule, the final rule adopts an overall change in the format of the RDA manual. Indicators are now grouped under 3 identified domains, which creates a shift in indicator order and number. Domain 1 captures indicators of academic achievement, Domain 2 captures indicators of post-secondary readiness, and Domain 3 captures indicators of disproportionate analysis, and specific to the special education program indicators for required significant disproportionality analysis and reporting designations. Subsequent RDA reports also incorporate these domain format changes. Timeline for the RDA report releases are discussed later in this presentation. TEA has consolidated and expanded its monitoring capacity for the special education program, referred here within as SPED, and the bilingual education English as a second language and English learner program, referenced as BEESLEL, due to changes in monitoring structures and requirements for certain federal and state programs, and to eliminate duplication of monitoring selection processes. Some program areas have been removed from the 2020 RDA report. These include Career and Technical Education, Title I Part A, and Title I Part C. These programs continue to be monitored by other offices at TEA and through the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, reporting and requirements. Indicators removed from the manual and resulting reports were no longer used in making monitoring decisions. The remaining program areas for certain student populations captured under the former ESSA section of the 2019 RDA manual will remain, but are captured in the manual as Other Special Populations, or OSP, and contain indicators inclusive of students in foster care, students experiencing homelessness, and students who are military connected. On March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott waived the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness, known as STAR, testing requirements for the 2019-2020 school year due to extensive school closures relating to the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic event. Indicators specific to STAR testing proficiency, participation, or other reliance on non-existent 2019-2020 STAR data will not receive 2020 RDA performance levels for those indicators. Texas's commitment to provide educators and parents with reliable information on student outcomes for mastery of grade level content as measured on the STAR in future years will continue. However, for the 2019-2020 school year, no data will be available for BE, ESL, EL indicators 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, with limited data on indicator 7. No data will be available for OSP indicators 1, 2, and 3, and no data will be available for SPED indicators 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You will notice the 2020 RDA manual still includes performance level cut points for most of these indicators. However, page 8 of the manual addresses assignments of designations labeled as no data in applicable indicators and the included events impacting reports on the 2020 RDA system. This overview will include specific notations of these impacted indicators. 2020 RDA manual consumers are urged to reference this presentation and additional related information on the TEA website specific to the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic impacts on certain student-level data. When there is insufficient data to make monitoring decisions, TEA will carry over its monitoring activities from the prior year. More information regarding monitoring activities will be communicated from the Department of Review and Support at TEA as those details are determined for the 2020-2021 school years. Year-to-year RDA comparisons of note are in the following. The 2019 RDA manual and report included 4 program areas: BE, ESL, CTE, ESSA, and SPED. As previously mentioned, the 2020 RDA removed CTE from its program reporting, changed the name for BE, ESL to include English learners, and now termed BE, ESL, EL, and changed ESSA to other special populations termed OSP. That included removal of Title I and migrant indicators and combined the remaining reported student populations that include students in foster care, students experiencing homelessness, and students who are military connected. With these changes, the number of indicators were reduced from 51 in 2019 to 35 in 2020. Additionally, the 3 program area indicators are aligned under 3 specific domains that include academic achievement under Domain 1, post-secondary readiness under Domain 2, and disproportionate analysis under Domain 3. The 2019 RDA reports included results from the 2018-2019 STAR, while the 2020 RDA reports will not have available STAR results from the 2019-2020 school year due to the impacts from the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic and resulting testing waiver declared by Governor Abbott. A designation of no data will be applied to the affected indicators. Results from the RDA LEA reports were used for targeted monitoring purposes in overall determination ratings. Due to the impacts from the COVID-19 disruptions in affected RDA data, there will be carryover monitoring activities from the 2019-2020 school year and considerations for any targeted or intensive supports through monitoring during the 2020-2021 school year. In Part 2, we will cover the layout in the manual for the 3 included program areas and provide an overview of the indicators for each program area. Let's begin. As previously mentioned, Program Area Bilingual Education, English as a Second Language, or BE-ESL, has been changed to Bilingual Education, English as a Second Language, and English Learners, or BE-ESL-EL. In 2019, certain BE-ESL indicators were provided as report only due to various changes in the data sources and processing requirements, and were not assigned indicator performance levels known as PLs. For 2020, new cut points were established for Indicator 1, BE star 3 through 8 passing rate, Indicator 2, ESL star 3 through 8 passing rate, Indicator 6, EL star EOC passing rate, Indicator 7, TELPAS reading beginning proficiency level rate, and Indicator 8, TELPAS composite rating levels for students in U.S. schools multiple years. However, impacts due to the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic and subsequent school closures that resulted in state assessment waivers, PLs will not be assigned against cut points where data is unavailable. Therefore, all 2020 RDA LEA reports will include impacted BE-ESL-EL indicators that will otherwise receive a no data rating. However, LEAs who submitted certain TELPAS data will have their reported data included and displayed in Indicator 7, but will not receive a PL assignment. These LEAs will see a designation in Indicator 7 as report only for 2020. And again, LEAs who opted to waive TELPAS data submissions will not have any data displayed and will be assigned a no data rating for 2020 in Indicator 7. You will notice the 2020 RDA manual does not include these specific changes. This is in part due to the timeline and fluidity of the decisions made relating to school closures and data submissions and the simultaneous rulemaking process that did not allow for capture of these changed decisions in real time. Nevertheless, as in past circumstances when data is not complete, missing due to disaster or related events outside the control of the state or LEAs, TEA has determined it would be inappropriate to assign PLs that would unfairly result in monitoring or other determinations and actions. Therefore, a decision was made to not assign a PL to any LEA in the state regardless of available local data for STAR and TELPAS indicators. Additionally, for Indicator 7, TELPAS reading beginning of proficiency level rate, LEA data will not be reported on the initial secure LEA unmasked report due to data file availability. However, those LEAs who submitted TailPass data, those data will be included on the publicly reported masked version released later this fall. Additionally, for 2020, 2 new indicators are included in the manual as report only for Indicator 4, EL Dyslexia Star 3 through 8 Reading Passing Rate, and Indicator 11, EL Dyslexia Representation, ages 6 to 21. However, due to COVID-19 data impacts, the new BEESL-EL Indicator 4 will not include data and will otherwise receive a no data indication. The BEESL-EL included indicators for the 2020 RDA manual and numeration under each of the 3 domain categories are captured here. There are a total of 11 BEESL-EL indicators. Indicators number 4 and 11 are marked as the 2 new indicators for the program area, and the data impacted indicators are noted in indicators 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and for some LEAs, 7. In the interest of time, this presentation will walk through only a few indicator examples for purposes of illustrating content inclusion and formatting changes, functionality, and highlights to the final adopted 2020 RDA manual. The first example will be for program area BEESL-EL with indicator number 1. Each indicator throughout the manual begins with a table inclusive of the indicator name and definition and includes any special notices or designations displayed in red font. Each indicator page will include the specified data source or sources and whether a PL assignment is applied. Displayed as yes here indicates a PL assignment would be made. However, as discussed previously, indicators such as this one for BE Star 3 through 8 passing rate have been impacted by COVID-19 subsequent school closures that resulted in state assessment waivers. Although the manual indicates yes for a PL assignment here, there will be a designation of no data on the subsequent RDA reports for impacted indicators. A feature included in the online electronic version of the 2020 RDA manual is with the data notes section of each indicator. The numbered codes are cross-referenced in the data notes table for each program area section. By clicking on the linked numbers included here, the electronic user will be taken directly to the notes table for the program area. Users can then utilize the data notes table to find useful information pertaining to the indicator. In this example, data notes 1 and 2 describing student inclusion and exclusion rules for BEESL-EL Indicator 1 are found. Electronic users can easily return to the linked indicator page by using a keystroke shortcut and pressing the Alt key along with the left arrow key. This format, functionality, and information display is consistent throughout the manual for all indicators in all program areas. The next 3 tables for each indicator also apply the same format and applicable information displays consistently throughout the manual for indicators in all program areas. This includes the processing criteria table that describes the indicator minimum size requirement, whether required improvement measurement or special analysis is available, the number of years for available data applied, whether the accountability subset is used for a particular indicator, the applicable data collections for the indicator, and for state assessment or other assessment indicators, which test administrations are included for processing. You will also find the calculation illustration demonstrating the number and denominator data inclusions. And finally, applicable indicators will include PL assignment tables containing the PL assignment cut points. Indicators that are report only will not display cut points, and certain SPED indicators measuring significant disproportionality will have similar but different tables for rating assignments. This table is an example of how the PL assignment table looks for an identified report-only indicator. The table is from BE-ESL-EL indicator number 3, ELs not served in BE-ESL, star 3 through 8 passing rate. Next, we will discuss the RDA manual and indicators specific to the program area for other special populations, or OSP. In 2019, certain student populations were reported under the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, section of the RDA manual. As explained earlier in this presentation, certain student populations, including Title 1A and migrant, have been removed, while students in foster care, students experiencing homelessness, and students who are military connected will remain and are combined as OSP for reporting purposes and PL assignments. The decision to combine these three student populations for reporting and analysis is based on high local education agency exclusion rates due to small size and inability to meet minimum size requirements within each of the student groups for PL assignment. Although PL assignments will be made at the combined OSP level, each of the three included separate student populations data will be displayed for disaggregated reporting, but will not be assigned individual PLs. LEAs that receive a PL3 or PL4 for any indicator in the 2020 RDA OSP report that would have otherwise not received a PL assignment in all three of the included student population groups for OSP will receive a hold harmless, or HH, rating for the following indicators: Indicator 4, OSP graduation rate, and Indicator 5, OSP annual dropout rates, grades 7 through 12. Due to the COVID-19 nationwide pandemic and subsequent school closures that resulted in state assessment waivers, ratings of HH or PLs will not be assigned as indicated in the final manual for Indicator 1 OSP star 3 through 8 passing rate and Indicator 3 OSP star EOC passing rate, which does not include data and will otherwise receive a no data indication. Additionally, for 2020, two new indicators are included in the manual as report only for Indicator 2 OSP dyslexia star 3 through 8 reading passing rate and Indicator 6 OSP dyslexia representation ages 6 to 21. However, due to COVID-19 data impacts, the new OSP Indicator 2 will not include data and will otherwise receive a no data indication also. The OSP included indicators for the 2020 RDA manual and enumeration under each of the three domain categories are captured here. There are a total of 6 OSP indicators. Indicators 2 and 6 are marked as the two new indicators for this program area, and the data impacted indicators are noted in Indicators 1, 2, and 3. Let's take a look at Indicator 4 OSP graduation rate as an example within this program area. As you can see, the formatting discussed earlier is carried through this program section. The first table contains the indicator name, definition, and special notices or designations displayed in red font. The next table contains the data sources, PL assignment designation, and clickable data notes as demonstrated in the BE-ESL-EL example prior. The next table contains the processing criteria. As noted before, because this is not an assessment indicator, It does not include the box for test administration information, but rather ends with the applicable collections box. The calculation graphic displays the numerator and denominator student inclusions. Of note for OSP in this indicator, as well as in others, is in the parentheticals noting both in the numerator and denominator is a non-duplicative count of students, meaning students who may be identified in more than one of the population groups combined for OSP. For example, a student ever in foster care and ever military connected would only count once in the numerator and only once in the denominator as applicable. And last, the PL assignment table with applicable cut points is included. Next, we will discuss the RDA manual and indicators specific to the program area for special education. To align with state and federal accountability calculation requirements in reporting the rate of students participating in the STAR Alternate 2, Indicator 5 SPED STAR Alternate 2 participation rate has changed and now includes calculations for 3 reported subject areas: math, science, and reading/ELA. This indicator will remain as report only. However, due to COVID-19 data impacts, the revised SPED Indicator 5 will not include data for the 2019-2020 data set and will otherwise receive a no data indication. Additionally, for 2020, 2 new indicators are included in the manual as report only in the following: Indicator 2, SPED Dyslexia STAR 3 through 8 reading passing rate, and Indicator 8, SPED Dyslexia Representation ages 6 to 21. Again, due to COVID-19 data impacts, the new SPED Indicator 2 will not include data and will also otherwise receive a no data indication. The SPED included indicators for the 2020 RDA manual, and numeration under each of the 3 domain categories are captured here. There are a total of 18 SPED indicators. Indicators 2 and 8 are marked as the 2 new indicators for this program area, and the data impacted indicators are noted in indicators 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As a reminder, federal regulations found at 34 Code of Federal Regulations Section 300.647 require for calculation and identification of significant disproportionality. These indicators are included in the SPED Domain 3, with indicators beginning at Indicator 11 through Indicator 18. Let's take a look at Indicator 11 SPED regular class less than 40% rate ages 6 to 21 as an example within this program area. As you can see, the formatting discussed earlier is carried through this program section as well. The first table contains the indicator name and definition. For this indicator, there are no special notices or designations displayed in red font. The next table contains the data sources, PL assignment designations, and clickable data notes as demonstrated in the prior examples. The next table contains the processing criteria. As noted before, because this is not an assessment indicator, it does not include the box for test administration information, but rather ends with the applicable collections box. Again, the calculation illustration provides information on the numerator and denominator student inclusions. And the PL assignments, if applicable, are included next. For indicators like SPED Indicator 11, if SD analysis is required, it is noted here. And the required analysis is explained in an additional table. For SD indicators, the SD risk ratio is illustrated next, followed by the rate threshold information, As a reminder, Section 2 of the 2020 RDA manual contains examples and more information regarding the SD calculations. Other SD resources, including the state's definition and application of flexibilities under the federal requirements, are located on the TEA website. Under the federal requirements, SD rate thresholds are set by the state with input from broad stakeholder feedback. In Part 3, we will touch on RDA reports. Let's begin. New in 2020, end users will see enhancements to the LEA reports due to changes in the overall format, remuneration, and domain aggregates for indicators, as well as the exclusion of some program areas and inclusion of new dyslexia indicators and OSP combined groupings. The report release process will be as in past years, with the initial unmasked LEA secure reports via TEAL production for review, followed by masked public reports published on the TEA website approximately 45 to 60 days later. As mentioned prior in this presentation, LEA reported data for BEESL-EL Indicator 7, TEL Pass Reading Beginning Proficiency Level Rate, will not be included in the unmasked LEA secure reports due to data reporting and access delays. Additionally, the 4 SPED federally required elements and ratings are not included in the unmasked LEA secure reports either. These data will be reported in the subsequent report releases once those data are available. Also, as in past years, the disaggregated SPED SD reports containing data on all 98 categories for analysis will be available to LEAs. New this year, regional ESCs will receive a Region SD report containing the disaggregated SPED SD reports for all LEAs within their region. This timeline illustrates events related to the 2020 RDA rule, reports, and related subsequent events. We emphasize that these are anticipated dates and timelines and can change due to unforeseen circumstances and events. The final rule as posted is in effect as of September 1, followed by the release of unmasked district reports, data downloads, and SPED SD district reports through TEAL production scheduled for September the 2nd. SPED SD letters will go out tentatively on September the 8th to SD Year 3 identified LEAs. The masked district report and download is scheduled for public release on the TEA website on October the 16th. All related and subsequent program monitoring activities and LEA engagements will begin in fall 2020 or spring 2021, depending on LEA determinations, along with other cyclical and compliance monitoring schedules. This concludes the presentation regarding the final adopted rule at 19 TAC Section 97.1005, inclusive of the 2020 RDA manual for certain student population monitoring requirements. Please process any additional questions to the appropriate contacts listed here. Questions regarding the 2020 RDA manual and pertinent policies should be directed to the Office of Special Populations at 512-463-9414 or by email to reviewandsupport@tea.texas.gov. Questions regarding the technical processing, calculations, or report should be directed to the performance-based monitoring at 512-463-9704 or by email to pbm@tea.texas.gov. Thank you again for your interest in this presentation topic.